Welcome back to part 4 of this series. If you missed the earlier videos, let me catch you up with how this works. From coast to coast, each state holds its own secrets. Today, I'm bringing you a compilation of news broadcasts that capture these incredible encounters. Whether it's a cryptid sighting in the Pacific Northwest, an unknown creature roaming the swamps of the South, or an animal thought long extinct making a surprise return, I've got a little of everything in this video. But first, a quick note. The clips you're about to see fall under fair use, as they are intended for educational purposes, as we explore and analyze these intriguing phenomena. Now, let's dive into the mystery and wonder that lies hidden in our own backyards. Since we are using a spinner wheel to determine the listing, here's a look at who we have left. With that said, let's get started. Let's see who we get this time. Tennessee! This one is fascinating and focuses on a story about a known animal just on the opposite side of the planet from where it is normally found. It just goes to show that animals have no concept of imaginary lines on a map.
A brisk fall morning in Chattanooga. I arrive at Chickamauga Dam in search of an elusive avian, and I'm not alone.
I'm out here checking out the ancient murrelet. This type of bird has never been seen in the state of Tennessee before. To get to see a bird that has no business being in a lake in Tennessee, this is maybe a once-in-a-lifetime shot.
Well, that means I have to get eyes on this bird. But what exactly was I looking for? All I could see were flocks of ducks.
It's a bird that's related to puffins, and it breeds in Alaska and the Bering Sea, and winters off the coast of the Pacific Northwest, like Washington and Oregon. It can also breed on the eastern coast of Russia and China.
But why has it flown the coop to the volunteer state?
Sometimes birds get blown places by storms. Sometimes birds will wander in search of food. And, sometimes birds' compasses just don't work properly.
I waited, camera at the ready, to try to get a glimpse of the ancient murrelet, but I needed to be more patient. There were a couple of close calls, but still nothing. The bird would emerge from the water for a few seconds, submerge itself before I could get a shot of it, then re-emerge from the water dozens of yards away, too quick for me to get a clear shot. Then it happened. A whopping 6 seconds of shaky footage, but after about an hour, I had finally captured the ancient murrelet.
The very first time I saw it, it was right in front of me, maybe 15 feet away, and so I got a great view.
It was my first time bird watching, but I see now why some 93 million Americans participate. The thrill of getting that one shot was honestly exhilarating.
The best part about it is you can collect birds by seeing them and observing them and recording them, and you don't have to put anything on a shelf.
I never thought that I would ever see an ancient murrelet. To have the opportunity of seeing one, right in your backyard was pretty exciting.
Spin it. Kentucky. Here's a good one to remind us all that sometimes mysterious events are caused by not so mysterious creatures.
Something is viciously attacking livestock in Shelby County. For the past 2 weeks, there have been a number of reports of goats, even bulls, being mauled in the small community of Waddy. WLKY's Daniel Kemp joins us with more on the mystery and a meeting held earlier tonight to talk about it. Daniel?
Yeah, Vicki, these animals were pinned up in the backyards of homes. The attacks have people who live there concerned not only for the safety of their animals, but for their own.
It don't seem to mind coming up and, getting whatever it wants.
It's a mystery making its way along Ditto Road, leaving its mark on many of the animals around. And on November 29th, Kevin Cox's bulls became its first victim.
Went out the next morning to go feed my calves, and I noticed one of the Holstein bulls had blood on it.
Something had shredded the ears on 3 of Cox's bulls, and just 1 week later, it's believed that something struck here again.
I came out, and it had gotten my goat, and it tore the ear off the goat and messed her other ear up in her mouth.
Then, not long after, off that same stretch of road,
they were torn to pieces.
Something attacked all 5 of Teresa Parker's pet goats so badly, she had to put them down.
Their faces were gone from their eyes down. Their ears had been ripped off.
These incidents are just a couple of the half dozen or so reported by people who say they've heard something, been chased by something, or seen evidence that something's viciously struck. And concerns about all of it brought more than 100 community members out to this meeting Monday night.
We want to make sure that we understand where they happened at, when they happened.
No one knows exactly what it is, but investigators told the crowd they have a pretty good idea.
Pretty much everybody's on the same page that, we do believe that it's going to be a domestic dog or dogs.
Kentucky Fish and Wildlife Sergeant Doug Deathridge says that's because of its tracks and the fact that it actually hasn't killed any of its prey. Now neighbors say they just want it found.
There's no question in my mind this animal needs to be put down. Once an animal gets a taste for blood, they don't stop.
Now, if it is determined that the attacker is someone's dog, that owner could be criminally charged. Investigators say an attack hasn't happened in about a week and a half. I'm Daniel Kemp, BLKY News.
Who's up next? Maine. This next report is about a creature specific to Maine, but reports of the creatures happen all over the planet with sightings dating back centuries. Watch the clip and let me know what you think is out there.
All right, 6:20. Yesterday, we explored the haunted halls of Bowdoin College in a special Halloween edition of Maine Mysteries.
Yeah, and so today Katie's here with her latest story in the series. Hi, Katie.
Good morning, Lee and Sharon. Let's get right into it, shall we?
Yes.
Well, today we dive into the tale of a sea creature whose sightings have been reported up and down the Maine coast since before much of it was settled by people. However, the majority of those stories about the monster came out of Casco Bay.
Sea serpents being seen in the coast, along the coast of Maine, have been around for hundreds of years.
Deep in the chilly water of Casco Bay, some say a mystery lurks. One with reported sightings dating as far back as the birth of our nation. Her existence has never been proven, but her name is steeped in legend. Cassie, the Casco Bay sea serpent. Veteran cryptozoologist Loren Coleman has investigated the fabled creature for years. He's researched stories of Cassie's sightings, including one of the earliest accounts from 1779 by a young, not yet Commodore Edward Preble.
He actually saw a sea serpent in Casco Bay coming towards him and shot a little gun that was on a little boat over the sea serpent to scare it away.
Coleman says despite the name, sea serpents would more likely be mammals than snake-like animals. His interest in Cassie is as much a fascination as it is the basis of his field. Cryptozoology is the study of undiscovered or unconfirmed animals. It's this kind of thinking that has led to the discovery of other once labeled sea monsters like the giant squid and megamouth shark. But it was a first-hand account in 1986 that keeps Coleman's curiosity of Cassie alive.
I was giving a talk at the Appalachian Mountain Club, and a man came up towards the end and he said, "You should really talk to an old friend of mine."
That man was then 81-year-old fisherman Ole Mickelson. He recounted to Coleman a day in June of 1958 when he and his first mate were fishing off the coast of Cape Elizabeth. Mickelson told Coleman they suddenly saw a large serpent creature, colored like a flounder, swimming toward them.
And he said every time the foghorn would go off, the creature would turn its head oh so slightly, and then it would go along. He was living it all over in front of me.
These days, reported sightings of Cassie and other sea monsters are rare. But rather than writing the beasts off as myth, Coleman offers an alternative reason.
The sea serpents that are out there now know how to avoid those ships. The big noises, the big ships that are very dangerous, they are like highways, and they're avoid them.
If she does exist, keep an eye on Casco Bay. You too might just see Cassie peeking out of the water.
You just might. Well, tomorrow on Maine Mysteries, I'll revisit one of America's most infamous unsolved murders straight out of a Hollywood horror movie and how it all started right here in Maine.
Looking
so get ready for
forward to
that.
it. These are really interesting.
Thank
really
you.
interesting.
Spin her up. Idaho. Funny we get this one next. From sea serpent to lake serpent we go.
We thought we'd give you something to think about if you're heading up or out to the McCall Winter Carnival this weekend. How about this? Slimy Slim. That's what they used to call the mysterious lake monster that lived in Payette Lake and has been seen surfacing periodically since 1920. Then in the summer of 1944, a group of people claimed they saw it too, describing it as 35 feet long, a dinosaur head type head, humps on its back like a camel, and shell-like skin. Well, that account got Little McCall some national attention, and they decided, well, they needed a better name than Slimy Slim. A 1954 newspaper contest settled that, and from then on, Charlie became more than a local legend. Her last sighting, just last year, by two women from McCall. That would have been the first sighting since 2009, and according to the Star News newspaper, there have been 13 reports since 1970 and 31 reports of Charlie sightings since 1944. So who or what is this Charlie we speak of? It's a question we asked back in 2011.
On a day a lot like today.
And when it's absolutely mirror still, there's no boats and no wind or people.
If you look closely,
a wake will come along, and that's Charlie.
She's called Charlie, the elusive enigma that has become an icon of Payette Lake, a perplexing legend that has been passed through the generations.
There's a lake monster.
What?
There's a lake monster!
Ask anyone in McCall. They'll tell you.
I haven't actually seen anything.
Okay, well, Charlie hasn't actually been seen up close, but they'll swear she's there. Marilyn Cron has lived in McCall since the 70s and has had this vantage point of Payette Lake since they opened the furniture store in 1981.
Have you actually seen Charlie?
Charlie is under there all the time.
And Marilyn has seen that telltale trail for several summers.
When you see that ripple, there really is something out there.
I have seen the wake of Charlie.
Dennis Coyle has been around the lake for 21 years and saw Charlie shortly after moving here.
All of a sudden a wake appears, a V, and this V takes off and then ends.
Like many others, Dennis believes it to be a really big but really shy sturgeon.
They do live to be 100 years old.
And apparently they get to be anywhere from 15 to 60 feet long.
That's big.
That's very big, but sturgeons get that way.
Some, however, see it differently.
Whoa, he's a rainbow fish. No, he's a rainbow whale.
The kids from the Children's House Preschool seem very familiar with Charlie the sturgeon.
No, a monster. That is a sea monster, and it looks like a frog, but it's not a frog.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't want to see Charlie? Like we found out back in 2011 with that story, not many actually have, and there's no photographic evidence Charlie actually exists. That doesn't mean, though, you don't have a chance to see her this weekend in McCall. She won't necessarily be showing herself in Payette Lake because it's usually frozen this time of year, but she will be showcased in some sort of dramatic representation throughout the Winter Carnival. Every year, somebody builds a snow or ice sculpture to look like Charlie, and sometimes there are more than one of them to be seen around town, and she's always part of the Mardi Gras Parade, which you can see Saturday live at noon on KTVB.com. And you can watch it again at 4 right here on Channel 7.
Let's see who we get. Oregon. This one is also about Bigfoot, but it's different. You'll just have to see what I mean.
The legend of Bigfoot has captured the public's imagination for decades since news of purported sightings began spreading around the country. But a recently opened art exhibit in Oregon is offering visitors a new way of thinking about the mythical creature also known as Sasquatch. Special correspondent Kat Wise reports for our Arts and Culture series, Canvas.
It is said they dwell in the mountains and forests throughout North America. Large, hairy creatures who walk upright. While Bigfoot has proven elusive in the wild, you can find him just about everywhere in urban environments. On t-shirts, business logos, toy shelves, and of course, the big screen. From the 1980s Harry and the Hendersons,
it's a major discovery,
to this year's Sasquatch Sunset. Sometimes funny, often feared. Now, a different way of knowing Sasquatch is on display at the High Desert Museum in Bend, Oregon.
The Sasquatch lives in many different landscapes, not just the mountains and forests, but all across the plateau.
Phil Kashkash, an artist and linguistics anthropology scholar who is Cayuse and Nez Perce, helped curate the exhibition called Sensing Sasquatch. Through art and multi-sensory experiences, the deep connection between Sasquatch and native people of the region and beyond is revealed.
Through our experience, we do know and understand it to be a very revered being who essentially watches over our community, is a kind of protector. And that kind of information is not widely known.
Outside the exhibit, visitors are asked to leave their preconceptions behind. Inside, they learn Sasquatch, which comes from the word Saskats, from the Coast Salish First Nations people, has many names.
Being a scholar of language, I was able to develop a data set of about 16 names from the various communities throughout the Northwest. Our language in Nez Perce, we say Istiaha, and that is reference to this particular being we know as Sasquatch.
On the day we visited, groups of school children were enjoying the feel of Charlene Moody's art. She's one of 5 Indigenous artists featured in the exhibit.
There's a Sasquatch hidden in the painting, too.
Moody, who goes by Tilly, is a member of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs and has lived on the reservation about an hour from the museum most of her life.
I wanted people to get understanding of standing next to it, of oh wow, look how tall and big this creature is.
Her mixed media installation includes a life-size Sasquatch wrapped in buffalo hides she prepared and brightly painted panels depicting basket designs.
I wanted to include and try to honor our basket weaving, because it seems like a lot of times when we do have these encounters with Sasquatch and Bigfoot, it's when we're huckleberry picking in the mountains and very remote areas.
Moody says many people she knows have had an experience with Sasquatch, and she has too. She has passed those stories on to her children, just as her relatives did when she was young.
Growing up in Warm Springs, my grandmother would tell me stories of, when you go out there, be respectful because there are things out here that aren't people. And then down in California, my Tuggo, he would tell legends of Bigfoot, about how he became and everything like that. And when we'd go into Yosemite area, we were never allowed to stray. We always had to stay close to a parent.
Mystery and reverence converge in the artist's depictions of Sasquatch. A carved mask, a striding sculpture, futuristic work next to art that is ancient. Cash created art for the exhibit as well. So Phil, tell me about your piece.
We harvested a large cottonwood branch, and it had to be a fork, and I suspended between the fork these naturally shed deer horns, and the idea is that Sasquatch being would hold it and rattle, make the noise, with the horns being the sound.
We're not asking for people to believe.
Dana Whitelaw is the museum's executive director. She and her colleagues changed their original vision for the exhibition after conversations with Indigenous advisors, including Cash.
He started sharing some Sasquatch stories after hearing that we were doing a Sasquatch exhibit. and we were transfixed. When we start hearing something that made us say, I never thought of it that way, that's our catalyst for knowing that we've hit on something that needs to be part of the exhibit.
She says art can play an important role in expanding public understanding.
If we can push people a little bit farther to think outside their realm of knowing, that what a gift when that happens, when you can just escape our parameters of our perspectives for a moment to see something. And art does that. There's beauty, there's wonder and awe that evokes curiosity. And that's when we know that we've created a path for people to think differently.
Cash Cash is now working with the museum to bring tribal youth to the exhibit later this year.
The world is bigger than we know, and there are an abundant set of mysteries that we all may come to know someday.
Sensing Sasquatch will be on display until January 12th, 2025. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Kat Wise in Bend, Oregon.
Who we got? Virginia. Back to back with the Bigfoot videos. I don't know the name of the male newscaster, but dude had me cracking up.
A Virginia man claims he spotted Bigfoot and he has the video to prove it.
Finally, somebody. We're going to let you be the judge.
Take a look. This is the YouTube video. Can you see real closely there?
Yeah, that's Bigfoot.
It was supposedly shot near the Did you say that's Bigfoot like you've seen him before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I watch those Bigfoot shows.
All right. This was shot apparently near the Intracoastal Waterway earlier this month. Randy O'Neill says he captured the images with his cell phone while he was camping with his dad. He says he saw red eyes watching them from the woods. So he claims he fired a shotgun, heard something scream and go crashing through the trees. O'Neill says he and his father experienced a similar encounter some 25 years ago. You know, it's always one of these kind of mysterious things. But if I was him, I wouldn't go back in the woods again since you shot Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And he saw you 25 years ago. He's probably going to come after you again.
If Bigfoot has some brothers, you know, they're going to come after you too.
Or his babies, whatever.
Yeah.
Big Mama and Bigfoot, watch out.
Let's see who we get this time. Louisiana. This one just seems like a dying fish to me, but you be the judge.
There's something strange swimming in the lagoons of City Park. You'd see it there. No one knows what it is. WGNO's Kenny Lopez joins us live from City Park with what he's learned. Kenny?
You know, LBJ and Susie, here in Louisiana, we have lots of creatures like alligators and nutria, but several visitors to City Park recently have spotted something that they've never seen before.
We looked into the water and saw a mysterious serpent-like creature. It's nothing I've ever seen before on land or in sea.
Lurking in the lagoon waters of New Orleans City Park is this mysterious creature.
The great people of the internet seem to think that it's a genetically modified carp that was created in a lab and released in City Park.
Kim Frashante and her family spotted this freaky fish-like creature a few days ago while walking through the sculpture garden.
My children were a combination of terrified and excited, as many children would be seeing such a beast in City Park. It was quite long. I have a 4-year-old, I would say slightly smaller than him. It was weaving on the surface and had a lot of scales. The tail was red. It was swishing around aimlessly and hanging out on the surface a lot longer than a normal fish would hang out.
Kim's the founder of the preschool Early Partners, where they are doing a deep dive investigation
into sea creatures, and we have not seen anything like this before in our books.
What is it?
It's not a shark. Maybe a giant catfish.
I am pretty well convinced is the Loch Ness Monster of New Orleans.
Give this another go. Texas. The creature in this next clip really just looks like some kind of canine with mange, but there is a weird angle that shows what looks like a fang hanging down from its mouth, almost like a saber tooth. Let me know if you can spot what I'm talking about.
New at 10, a strange sighting is baffling Hill Country Village residents tonight. This creature was caught on camera at a Northside neighborhood. The property owner took to social media asking, "What is it?" Her post has blown up as many give it a wild guess. As Ken's 5 reporter Hannah Tita tells us, the photos are even stumping experts.
What do you think this animal is? No one quite knows what to make of it.
Large animal, kind of looks like a wolf, but not like a neighborhood dog.
I would say some kind of cat, like a bobcat, mountain lion.
It looks like some kind of like mangy coyote.
Last night, a bizarre creature made a visit to Tina Kaling's backyard.
I was inside and I looked out into the yard and I looked right here and I saw this animal. I thought, wow, what is that?
So she snapped a picture.
And I saw him walking around this tree. And
whatever it is, it has a sweet tooth.
These are the fruits and they drop on the ground.
Tina was able to get just one more photo before the animal disappeared into a shroud of mystery. She turned to her neighbors for help.
It's gotten a lot of posts on Nextdoor.
In 24 hours, more than 100 people weighed in.
Chupacabra. Some people think it's like a cross between a coyote and a dog.
According to local legend, an old mountain lion roams Hill Country Village, but no one has been able to get a picture of it, according to city officials. The city manager told us they are on the case, trying to get to the bottom of this somewhat mangy resident.
I would love for someone to help me identify, but I just don't have great photos.
The city of Hill Country Village reached out to the Texas game wardens, and so did we. We are all waiting to hear back. But I also took those photos to the San Antonio Zoo. The director of mammals told us it looks like either a coyote or a dog, and 2 veterinarians also at the zoo said it appears to be a dog with skin issues. If you would like to get a closer look at those photos, head over to kens5.com. For now, reporting live, Hannah Tita, Kens 5.
Oh, what could it be? Yeah, we want to hear from you too, so weigh in and on the conversation.
What did you think of some of these stories? Do you believe there is truth to their claims? Or are people simply misidentifying animals that are already known? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have any pictures, videos, or stories of unexplained phenomena, unknown animals, or strange encounters, feel free to email them to me at thesagecrypt@gmail.com. I'd love to make a full video based off your entries. This is part 4 of a series I'll be releasing every week, so if you didn't see your state in this video, subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss the next release. Also, you may want to check the playlist with the previous episodes. Since I'm using a spinner wheel, the order of the states are randomized. Until next time, leave no trace.